Hey everybody, Michael the Maven. Today I am going to show you the best customizations for the R6 and the R5. They operate almost identically. If there's a difference, I will point it out. This video is really broken up into two parts. There's kind of a more of a beginner's way of customization, and I have a second video that I'm going to post right after this is for the bird and flight photographers. There's some very important camera customizations I'm going to show you that will literally be a game changer for how you shoot. So if you are brand new to the camera, let me walk you through some of the most important shortcuts and customizations you should know about the R5 and the R6. The first one right off the bat is direct selection. So when you're trying to change your focusing square looking through the viewfinder and you want to move your joystick around, I think it's just easier to have this direct. And so what you want to do is toggle your screen until you come to the black screen, press your Q button, and this is where we can start customizing our buttons and controls. The first thing you should change right off the bat, direct selection right here on the bottom. I do this on almost all my Canon cameras. Something I want to point out is that our customization for stills is different than what we have customizations for videos. So if we're in the video mode, those buttons are going to behave a little bit differently. This is the R6, but a great shortcut on the R5, if you just want to jump into video mode, is to press on the mode button right here, press on the mode, followed by the info button, and that will jump you back and forth between stills and video. Another great customization that I think everybody should have is eye detection. And I am kind of a fan of putting it right here where the exposure lock button is. You don't have to put it there. You can put it onto some other buttons that I want to point out real quick, coming back in to our customization screens. So when you come into the customization buttons, as we scroll down through this list, you can see this little white dot is highlighting the button that we can customize, right? So as we continue to scroll down, it's giving us all these options. Even the AF stop button on certain lenses you can customize. The MFN button, I would not recommend changing. We can change the set button back here. But if you don't want to put it on that specific button, there are other buttons where we could put it. But let's put eye detection right here where our exposure lock or flash exposure lock button is. We can come in. And the truth of the matter is there's more than these two rows. You can scroll up and down and you can see this bar on the far right, how many options we have. It is worth going through these and reading at least what some of these are so you know that option is there. Now there are two options in here that are kind of similar. This is the one that I recommend, eye detection AF. There is this other guy down here that basically toggles eye detection on and off so you could jump back and forth between face detection and eye detection. I don't think that's a good one. I think this is the one you want because now when you push that, you will get face detection immediately. Now in your menu, in the autofocus menu, you can determine what type of face detection that is. That can be found on page 1 of the purple tab, and you can see that it's turned off. It's like, what's going on, right? Let's just turn this over to face detection and tracking. We have to be in that mode for it to be available. And then you can see it's on. But the subject to detect, we can prioritize for people, animals, or no priority. The people one is working really well. There's lots of different kinds of animals and shapes of faces of animals and colors of faces of animals. And so the animals one is still in its early stages of development, I would say. But at this point, you now have a shortcut for eye detection. So I want to demonstrate this real quick using a different focusing cluster just to demonstrate this works. So we're back to 1 point, right? Let's come out and take a look at this. Here's our single focusing square. I can move the square around. And if I just want to jump to eye detection, there it is. And so you don't need to change your focusing cluster to jump back and forth between a single point and eye detection. I pretty much recommend shooting portraits with eye detection almost exclusively now. It's really good on the R5 and R6. Something else I want to point out and that you should be aware of is that as I move my focusing square, there are going to be times you just want to jump right back to the center, push your joystick into the camera body, and it will reset at center. Many of you have asked and will probably continue to ask about back button focusing. It's basically where we want to focus only with the AF on button to engage focus. We need to turn off the autofocus from the halfway shutter button depression, and we do that by again going back to our black screen, customize buttons, and then we're going to select our shutter button. You can see it's indicated in the white, and we're going to turn this to off. I don't recommend this to pure beginners because they sometimes forget they do it and they'll think their camera's broken. So if your camera is not focusing and you've recently changed this, it's probably what's happened. And the halfway shutter button depression is no longer focusing. And in this case, with back button focus, the camera will only focus when we push this AF on button. A lot of sports shooters really love this way. In that menu, keep jumping back to this menu, you will notice that we have this other option of customizing dials. So most RF lenses will have a ring around the lens. And see if we can get it highlighted there. You can see that front, I'm on the 24 to 105 RF, and that front ring can be customized to do different things. It's kind of a weird thing. It's really only on Canon RF lenses that we can customize this ring to do things like exposure compensation. But that's just the default. We get tons of these other options. Just depending on how you want to use the camera. I think beginners probably wouldn't need to worry about that so much, but it's a cool feature. So let me demonstrate how this works. If you have it customized for exposure compensation and you rotate the ring, nothing's happening. Oh, how frustrating, right? Well, it basically wants us to push and hold the shutter button halfway down, and then we can adjust our exposure compensation. That's kind of nice, right? Some of the other customizations at some point I would recommend is how you change your aperture, your shutter speed, and your ISO. It really is preference. It depends on how you like to shoot. I personally like to have available the things I change the most with my index finger. So I will usually do something like this. So I'll put my primary finger on the primary controller, which is my aperture. I usually go with shutter speed on the back dial here. And then I'll do ISO on this wheel because I don't change my ISO that much. But these two other guys I might change all the time. Again, I would not recommend that if you're just getting started because it'll confuse you. But at some point, for the sake of operational efficiency, it's going to make sense to do that. So if you are a pure beginner and you're just getting started, I think that is a pretty good introduction to some of the shortcuts and customizations you'll want to know. I have a couple of these videos as they become more complex. If you're struggling to learn your camera, check out my R5, R6 tutorial on YouTube. It's absolutely free, and I have an excellent Facebook users group you can check out. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.